mamas, papas, and everybody in the crew. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming to you with a follow-up video to my Dr. Brown's bottle warmer. Now, if you haven't seen this video, you definitely want to check that out before watching this one, because this is part 2 and an update video of how it's actually been working since we purchased it. We got that bottle warmer probably when my son was around 5 to 6 months old, and now that he is 17 months, a lot has happened since then. So I'm just going to go over frequently asked questions that I still get asked about this video to this day. I'm also going to go over additional features that I didn't cover in the first video, because a lot of the questions are around, will this fit my bottle? Does this work with tall bottles, small bottles? So I'm going to go through all of that in this video, as well as any other additional updates that I have regarding using the bottle warmer, and if I still would recommend this for anyone who is in the market for a bottle warmer for their littles. So let's jump right into today's video so that you can get all the goods on the update of the Dr. Brown's bottle warmer. We're gonna dive right into the top questions that I still get asked to this day. I get quite a few questions, so I'm gonna pull out the top 6 or 7 questions and answer them right now. I'm gonna insert a video of me answering a couple of these questions, but the first question that I get often is, how tall of a bottle will the bottle warmer fit? Now, in the video that you're about to see, I went through the different bottles that we have, sippy cups that we use, as well as if the bottle warmer will warm the milk or the fluid or whatever you're putting in there. So check that out. All right, so now what I'm going to do is answer a few questions using the bottle warmer directly, so that way you have a better understanding of when I'm answering the questions, you know exactly what I mean. One of the top questions that I actually get is how much the bottle warmer can fit as far as ounces. And so what I'm going to do is take you through this screen right here really quickly so that you can see the different settings, and we'll be able to adjust based on how much breast milk or formula or any type of liquid that you're trying to warm up in the bottle warmer. All right, so I'm putting it on. So this is the last setting that we have. There are 3 different temperature settings. This is room temperature. So you see the house, that's room temperature. The next setting is refrigeration. So these are the 2 temperatures that we use pretty often. So we will use the home, which you saw in the first one, and the refrigerated. And then this is frozen. So if you have frozen breast milk or frozen products that you need to thaw, the bottle warmer will allow you to warm those items from frozen, room temperature, and refrigerated, okay? So the current setting that we have on, that's why you see the preset time here, is the amount of ounces that we have. So if you click this button, which you see that has like the different bottle sizes, this lets you know that we currently have it on 6 ounces. If you want to increase and decrease the ounce size, you would just press the up and down button here. So the lowest amount of formula or breast milk in ounces that you can put inside of the bottle warmer is going to be 1 ounce. The highest amount of water, or if you're trying to warm formula or breast milk, is 11 ounces. Okay, so anyone who asks like tall bottles don't fit in this, that's absolutely not true. Most of the time, because of my son's age, we usually stick in the 6 ounce range, but please know that you can have bottles inside of the bottle warmer that are 9 ounces, 10 ounces, 11 ounces, which is the most that your baby should be consuming at one time anyway, that you will be able to warm that level of liquid in here and not have any worries. The last thing that I wanted to show you is the different type of bottles that you can put inside of the bottle warmer, because that's another question that I get asked often. What type of bottles can you put in here, and will it still heat it? This is glass. So if you see the G means glass. Let me see if I can get a little closer in here for you. Okay, dokie. So if you see this G, that means it's glass. So if you wanted to see how many ounces you can do with glass bottles, you would just press this, and the most that you can do is 6 ounces under the refrigerated. Now, if you wanted to do different temperatures, like room temperature, and then see if you can increase it, as you can see, you can. The most at room temperature for a glass bottle that you can do is 9 ounces. If you're changing the temperature to refrigerated, you can still do 9 ounces. So for glass bottles, you can only do room temperature and you can do refrigerated. If you click this button again, this will take you to regular plastic bottles. So these are your regular plastic bottles. So I'm going to show you an example of what a regular plastic bottle will be in here so that you know what I'm talking about. For regular plastic bottles at any setting, you can go all the way up to 11 ounces, and that's going to go for all the different settings. See? So for the regular plastic bottles, you can go up to 11 ounces. And then these are for narrow bottles. If you're using this particular, the gray feature, because you see that it has this container here. So any small bottles that you have that you're going to put in here, you want to click to the very last feature, and this lets you know how many ounces you can go up with very small bottles. So again, the Dr. Brown's bottle warmer definitely allows you to have different settings within whatever you're trying to do, so you don't have to worry about if my bottle is not going to be able to work. Is the bottle warmer going to warm my bottle? The answer is yes. It has 3 different settings, whether you have a very small plastic bottle, a glass bottle, or a standard plastic bottle. So now what I'm going to do is show you the different size bottles that we typically use inside of the bottle warmer. So this is a Dr. Brown's bottle. We got Dr. Brown's because my son, early on in his ministry, fresh out, he had a lot of colic and he was milk intolerant. So we decided to get the Dr. Brown's bottle for anti-colic, but you can pretty much fit any bottle in here and it will work. Now, this particular bottle is a wide neck bottle. Narrow neck bottles should fit in here as well. We never got the narrow neck bottles, again, because we decided to stick with the wide neck and the anti-colic system. But these are the tall bottles. So as you can see, the tall bottle fits in here. And because it goes up to 11 ounces, this is a 9-ounce bottle. So you know that if you're making 11 ounces, it will work. It will work. The 5-ounce bottles, and again, they fit right in. You would use this last setting because you are using this container, and it will fit. You don't have to worry about it. Because this is 5 ounces, if you put 6 ounces in here, it will still warm your stuff up. And also, let's say you have an older toddler like we do, and they're using sippy cups. Sippy cups will fit in here as well. This is an 8-ounce sippy cup. So you can either keep it in this gray container, or you can take it out and it will still fit, okay? So it will work with any bottle that you have. The next question that I get often is, how often do you add water? Now, I will say in the first stages of your baby's infancy, because that's the only thing that they're drinking, you're going to be adding water a lot. I think at the height of us using the bottle warmer, when my son was under 12 months, we were adding water like every day in there, because since your child has to feed like every 2 to 3 hours, and then it increases to like 3 to 4, you're going to be using it like 8-12 times a day. And that water goes quick, so you're going to be filling it up often. Now that we're on the closer end of him being 18 months, We don't have to refill it as often. I think now we only fill it maybe once a week, but at the height we were definitely filling it up every day or every other day. So that's something to be mindful of depending on your child's age, what type of formula, or if it's breast milk or whatever type of liquid that you're putting in there, and how often you are using it, as well as the duration in which you have it on for. Distilled versus regular water. Now, let me say this. We live in an area where there's hard water, so we have to use a water softener to make sure that our water is not like super rough on our skin. There is minerals in the water that we use, so we always have to put in bottled water or distilled water. That is recommended. But if you live in an area where you don't have hard water, you don't have a lot of minerals in the water, you can use regular faucet water. It doesn't matter. But using bottled or distilled water is still best and what I still recommend, because water has minerals and particles in it and it will damage the machine. So you just want to be very careful in what you're putting in there to refill it. Do not overfill the thing. Make sure you fill it. I know there were a lot of times when we first had it and we had other people using it, they would overfill it. And I'm going to get a little bit more into that in the next couple of questions. But yes, make sure that you are not overfilling it. You're only putting the amount of water that needs to be in there. You're putting the correct amount of water in there, and that you're using bottled water. It doesn't matter what bottled water. You don't know the different brands if you're using Dasani or Pollard Springs. Bottled water or distilled water is the best. Now, at the time when we were using it very often, we had to put a lot of water in it. I will include the bottled distilled water that we would use and I would recommend for the machine. But outside of that, like I said, if you don't live in an area that has hard water, regular tap water is fine. It's just the more pure the water is, the longer the machine will last. So keep that in mind. Does it work with non-Dr. Brown bottles? And the answer is yes. However, because it is a Dr. Brown machine, obviously they want you to use their products in it. But girl, we've used an Avant bottle in there. We've used a regular schmegular like Walmart bottle. As long as it fits within the dimensions, and again, I've only used wide neck bottles, so I don't know about the narrow neck. I don't know how that works. That's not in the ministry because, like I said, we use the anti-colic system from Dr. Brown's for my son Noah, so I don't know about any other type of neck that would fit in there. But wide neck bottles, which are most bottles, should work in there with no problems as long as it fits within the 9-11 ounce dimensions that you're going to have. You shouldn't have an issue with it. I don't think Dr. Brown's will make a bottle warmer exclusively for their products when they know so many kids and people have different needs, and it's still a good bottle warmer. So that's what I have to say about that. Did it break? And if it broke, did you replace it? And the answer is yes. Shortly after I made the original video, the bottle warmer broke. And that was because, like I said, at the time, my husband and I were using it like every 2 to 3 hours because he was feeding really often. If you haven't been a part of my channel, you're new, you want to check out this series where I talk about my son having a milk intolerance, and so we had to switch to Nutramigen, which is like a lactose-free type of substitution. But there is a Similac version of Nutramigen, which is called Alimentin. So depending on if you are Similac, if you want that, or an Enfamil baby, you have those two options should your child develop an intolerance to the lactose in milk. Drop down the comments if you want me to do a whole video about the whole how we discovered the milk tolerance in my son. So the Nutramigen goes in there. We've never had any problem with it tearing up his stomach, it being too hot, or anything like that. That's another question that I get often too, is does the bottle warmer make the milk, the formula, or whatever you're using too hot? And the answer is no. But you will know when it's time to refill it, because let's say you put it in there for like an 8-ounce bottle and it's still very cool to the touch, then you know you need to add more water in there if you're not checking it regularly. But yeah, that's what happens in that instant. But it did break, and after it broke, we Went a couple of months, and then my sister was like, I don't know why I don't have this bottle warmer again. So she ended up buying us a new one, and we haven't had any issues out of the new bottle warmer. But also because my son had to switch from using an actual bottle to a sippy cup, we just by default, he started to tolerate drinking room temperature and cold milk, even though we try not to give him cold milk. But he will drink it. When he was much younger, it was like, no sis, it needs to be hot or you're gonna catch these hands. So yeah, that's what happened. And I think with all products, because of the frequency we were using it, like I said, he was feeding like every 2 to 3 hours. So we were using it like 12 times a day, like literally every couple of hours we had that thing on and we were warming up his milk. So it was natural that it broke. I don't think it had anything to do with something that we were doing. Like I said, I do think that people, when we would give it to them, they would like overfill it with water. I don't think they were being mindful of like the line that was in there, so they were just filling it and then it would like overflow. You could tell if you've put too much water in it, because when it starts to heat up, all the water will explode out of the sides, out of the top, and you definitely don't want to do that. So just make sure you're filling the water up to the line that's inside of it and you're using the proper water for it. But then we bought a new one, and that's the one that you see. It still works fine. We don't use it that often because my son's a lot older now, but he definitely still gets between 4 to 6 ounces of formula, and we still warm it up in there and we don't have any problems. So yes, it did break, but we did replace it and we haven't had any issues since then. Another question that I get often is, do you need the gray basket? And the answer is no. There is a setting in there if you're going to use the basket for much smaller bottles, or if you're not using a Dr. Brown specific bottle or a bottle that's in the wide neck family. But you don't have to use the gray basket. It will still warm the milk up, or the liquid, whatever you're putting in there, fine. The basket, we just keep it in there because it just provides this extra level of like mental comfort. But taking the basket out or leaving the basket in, it will still heat the bottle. You don't have to worry about that. It's just the type of bottle and the size of bottle will also dictate if you want to add the gray basket in there. It's usually used for smaller bottles, but you don't have to have it in there for it to warm your milk. So an update about just overall usage. Right now, we're using it probably once or twice a day. Our son is in daycare, so they're giving him about, I would say, 12 to 16 ounces of formula, and then when he comes home, he has one more 6-ounce glass to put him at where he should be for his age group, which is about 24 ounces. So we're not using the machine as often as we used to. Like I said, when he was under 12 months, that thing was getting heavy use. It was heavy in rotation. But right now we still use it, but it's just once or twice a day. On the weekends when he's here, obviously we're doing it about 4 times a day. I would say between 3 to 4 times a day. We're using the bottle warmer to heat his milk, unless it's room temperature, and then he'll drink it that way. But we're not using it as often as we used to, but we will definitely keep it. Should we have another kid, we will be using the bottle warmer straight out the gate. Straight out the gate. What settings do we normally use? We usually keep it on the middle setting, which is just like the regular tall bottle, and we will put between 6 ounces, unless it's been like a really long day and we know he didn't really eat well. That's when we will increase it to like 8 or 9 ounces. But we usually just keep it on the room temperature setting or the refrigerated setting. I have not used the frozen setting. In the very early stages when I was breastfeeding, about a month after he was born, we would put the breast milk in there and it would heat just fine. Just be mindful that it is a bottle warmer. So if you're putting frozen breast milk or any type of frozen item in there, it might dilute it just a tad. I don't know. I've never used it in that capacity. When I was expressing, we would just put the bag in there and let it heat up the bag, and it did fine. So I'm sure for frozen it would do that, but we usually just stick with the room temperature and refrigerated setting. I don't know the Ministry of the Frozen, but I'm sure it would do just fine. Would I still recommend this product for parents? And the answer is yes. To me, it is definitely still an excellent bottle warmer. And it's really the only one that we have ever used. I'm sure there's other bottle warmers out there, but we just stuck with that one. And I would still recommend it for any parent. I do think you should put it on your registry, because there will be nights where your baby will not take a room temperature bottle. Even if you're doing the powder formula, it works really well with that too. What I would recommend doing though is, if you're going to do powder, warm up the water and then add the powder formula in there. That way you're not like having the formula, it doesn't mix really well, at least in my opinion. Putting the powder and then trying to warm it up, it doesn't really settle well. If you warm the water up and then add the powder, it's a lot better, because at least then the water is up to temperature. You're not killing off the additional nutrients that the powder would have in there. If you're using liquid formula like we do for the Nutramigen, you don't have that to worry about, but that's just a little pro mama tip. If you are going to be using the powder, warm the water up first and then add the powder to the water. It's still a great product. I would still definitely recommend it for anybody who is in market for a bottle warmer. I wish it came like in a larger capacity so that you're able to do like 2 or 3 bottles at a time, but that's really good, and I would still recommend it for anyone who's in market for it. So that's it for this update video. As I mentioned, I will link everything that we use in the description box below. So the actual bottle warmer, my recommended sippy cups that my son uses, because it promotes like healthy swallowing and good tongue movement and oral health. That was the one that his speech specialist at the time recommended, so I will put that in the description box below, as well as the bottles that we use that come in 5 and 9 ounce bottles. It has served us great. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any additional questions, feel free to leave them down in the description box below, and I might do another update video as well once he gets closer to 24 months, so that we can kind of wrap up the whole using the bottle warmer. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, where I will be doing a lot more product reviews for the mamas, the papas, and everybody in the crew, so that you can master being a parent with your little one. All right, until the next video, take care. Bye.